Well, I'm sitting out here, standing out here, doing this strenuous exercise, filling the water tank. I mean, just look how much effort this takes. So what happened this morning, Carolyn wanted to do laundry, so at 9 o'clock, she remembered that we needed to get the laundry started. So that's because the sun was out today. It's been cloudy for the last several days. And on sunny days, we try to get the laundry done or started by 9 o'clock in the morning. That way there's plenty of time to get the laundry done and get the water filled back up in the tank. And plenty of time for the batteries to recharge if needed while the sun is out. So just a little routine. I actually set my alarm at 9 a.m. I do two things at 9 a.m. It's a lot of work. I make sure that we don't need to do laundry, and if we do, we got to get that started. And I feed the chickens their snacks. Now, what a snack is it's their regular chicken food, and we add bacon grease to it. It's kind of a little treat for them, and they really enjoy it. And that fat helps them stay warm in the winter. Then after the laundry's done, which is about 10:30, the laundry gets done, then I start filling the water tank. And it's a pretty strenuous exercise. Now, yesterday's video, I showed you that I disconnected the filters because of the freezing weather that we got last night. So I had to hook them back up this morning. And it took, it took forever. It took about, maybe 10 minutes to hook it back up to the hose. I don't even know if it took that long, maybe 5 minutes. And then I take the hose and I hook it back up to the well. Then I gotta start the well pump. So that's a pretty treacherous experience also. So I gotta walk all the way down to the shed. I think it's 100 feet. And I turn on the inverter. And then I walk back up here and I flip the switch on. And that turns the pump on. So, and of course then the water comes shooting out. And then I check to make sure the water's clean. That's just a habit I've gotten into. And then I, of course, switch it from the bucket into the hose, which goes through the filters. And then when I go back in the house and I rest, because that was pretty exhausting exercise. And I sit there for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and then I come out and check the water tank to make sure it's doing okay. Now I can look at the hose through the window to see if everything's all right. You know, sometimes that hose will pop up, and I gotta get back outside. That's a lot of work. Got to get back outside and put the hose back in there. Now I always keep a couple buckets of water filled also. So as the first bucket I fill up, and then I turn the hose on, and then I can use that water for toilet water. We just take a coffee cup at a time and flush the toilet. You know, that's quite a bit of work, having to carry that bucket in there. I only have to do that once a day. I do that when I feed the chickens at night, which is a whole nother story about the amount of work that takes. After I get done filling the tank, I fill another bucket of water. Just make sure the water is still clean, that I didn't somehow get it dirty. So now that bucket I reserve for the chickens in case they need water. I can take it down there. And then what I do is I shut off the water after I'm all done with that switch. If it's not going to freeze in the evening, which I don't think it's going to freeze tonight, I got to check the weather app. So that means I got to go all the way back into the house and check the weather app, because I forgot to check while I was in there. And then if it's not going to freeze, I can leave the hose out here. But if it's going to freeze, I got to disconnect that filter, and I got to take it inside. And I'll put an up next box to that video, yesterday's video, where I showed you how I disconnect that. So if it's not going to freeze, then I can just leave everything alone, and that's kind of a big relief. And then I walk back down there all the way to 100 feet to shut the inverter off. I got to shut the inverter off because it uses 2 amps an hour on that big inverter. I got 2 inverters, a smaller one and a bigger one. I only run the big one when I'm running things like the well pump. It's a lot of work. And I guess it's come to the end where it's just too much. I just can't do it anymore. I guess it's just time to realize that my age is catching up with me. And every time I say this, people say, I can't believe that's how old you are. You got to be kidding me. Off-grid life must be really abusive. But I'm only 52 and I'm just wore out. Now, the gray hair isn't from off-grid living. The gray hair is from a stressful life of running my own company for 10 years. And, you know, that was pretty tough. I was on the road almost nonstop for 10 years straight. But it's all caught up. I am telling you that if you get to be in your 50s, you just will forget your dreams. It's just not possible. I thought it was possible. I've done it for, I guess we've been at it for 6 or 7 years, 8 years. You know, we traveled the country for a while as nomads. We had a pop-up camper, and then we had a truck camper that we built. And then we moved here. I built a tiny house and got the systems in place, solar panel, got the well running. But I tell you, the commenters are right. This is too much. You need to stop. So obviously I'm being sarcastic. I get this all the time, that it's just, you're gonna get too old to be able to do this much longer. I don't know how you can keep up with it. You're gonna, you know, be able to do it much longer. I tell you, my day is just not that extraneous. I was talking to Carolyn this morning, and we was wondering, did we have to take a long period to adapt to the minimalistic lifestyle? Was it overly complicated to adjust to it? And the answer was no. The hardest thing I had to do to adjust to when we started traveling was using those outhouses at the national forests and state parks and stuff. They were just always nasty. And I would put gloves on, little plastic gloves, rubber gloves, whatever you want to call them. And I'd clean those toilets before I would use them. I just never understood it. We were down there at one in Florida, and I cleaned it every day. Every day I cleaned it, swept the floor. I walked in there one time, and I don't even understand it. There was a trail of excrement on the floor. I guess he just couldn't make it to the toilet. I mean, it was everywhere. How do you manage that? That was the hardest thing I had to deal with, trying to overcome that little phobia. But living here, that's not even an issue. So this morning we were hooking up the washing machine, and Carolyn was the one that remembered to do the laundry. I'd forgotten. I was outside when I came in. The alarm was ringing, the alarm that tells me I need to feed the chickens and do the laundry. And she says, as soon as I walk in, I didn't even hear the alarm yet. She says, we need to get some laundry done. I said, oh, okay. I don't even know if I would have remembered. So, you know, that's the kind of issues we run into living off grid, is just remembering to do the chores when it's necessary. There is a schedule to things. And that's probably the biggest issue, if you want to call one an issue, is trying to remember to do the things on the schedule. Because you got to do the laundry when it's early enough so we can get everything done in time before the sun sets. And you can't do laundry just on a whim. You can't say, oh, look at the load, it's piled up, I need to get some laundry done. No, you got to kind of have a plan. Another plan that we have to make sure that we try to stick to is grocery shopping. We have to know what the weather's going to be like on the day that we go grocery shopping, so we got enough sun to run the freezer. Otherwise, we're running it on generator. It's not a big issue. It's just these little quirks, and it's probably my little quirk, but it reduces anxiety and stress. But my day is just not that complicated. Like I said, I came in, I think splitting some firewood. I sit here, and I'm telling you, this is just not that difficult either. I grab an armful of firewood. I take the hatchet here, and I split our split wood. It's already split. I just split it more so it would fit in our wood stove. I explained this story before. When we split it, we had a barrel wood stove. And now we got the smaller one. We have to downsize it a little bit more. So we come out here and we split it with the hatchet and a little 5-pound maul. Bring it in, take it in the house. And I don't even do that every day. I only do it. We have 3 areas that we store firewood in the house. And I always pull from the same area until that area is empty. As soon as that area is empty, I fill it back up. And the reason I do that is so it's got time to get the rain and the dew and all that dried off of it. It sits in a house that dries pretty quick because of that wood stove. I try to keep about 2 weeks worth of firewood in there, but that's just not overly complicated. I don't understand why everything's got to be, oh, it's just too much work, I can't do it. People can go out and do all kinds of things. They'll go out and dancing, and you know, my grandpa used to say, if people would put in half amount of effort they do at work as they do when they go outside and play baseball, the country would be in a lot better shape. And it's true. People will work themselves to oblivion in a sports game. But you ask them to go out and do any work. Oh no, can't do that. I got drunk last night and the wife's mad. And our society's become very relaxed. They don't think that working for a living is a necessity anymore. So then after I get done with splitting the firewood, I check to make sure we got it. I fill water every day if it's sunny. If it's cloudy, I'll let it go. It's been cloudy for a few days. And then I don't really have much to do for the rest of the day. I make a YouTube video. That does take some effort. During the winter, I got to start the wood stove, depending on the temperature, anywhere from 1 to 3 times a day. But that's not a big deal either. I mean, that's kind of relaxing. I enjoy doing that. And then at about 7 o'clock, I go down with my little headlamp on in the wintertime because it's still pretty dark. Now in the summertime, I wait until about 9 o'clock. But I go down with my headlamp on, make sure the batteries are okay. If I need to run the generator, I go ahead and run it for an hour. Gives the chickens some food, fill their water. Of course, I got to carry that bucket down. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. I collect the eggs. I bring that little plastic tray that I fed them at 10 o'clock. I feed them 10 o'clock every morning, or 9 o'clock, excuse me, every morning with the chicken feed with that bacon grease in there. I bring that back up with eggs in it. I set it in the camper and I come inside. Of course, I take that bucket of water and I dump it into the bucket in the house so we have that toilet flushing water. And then in the morning I get up at 4:30. I check the charge again, see if we need any charge. And then I open up the chicken coop. That's the extent of my day. I just cannot convince people that even if you're old, you can still live your dreams. But no, we have to make excuses. I would love to live off grid, but I just can't. I'm disabled. I'm old. Well, that's right. You can't live off grid. You have already decided that it's not possible for you. That sitting here looking at water dribble into a IBC tank is just overwhelming work. It can't be done. I don't know. How old do you have to be? The thing is according to this philosophy, you can never live your dreams. Because when you're in 20s and 30s, your objectives then are always, and they're always going to be this way, a family, a business, a career. And then when you start getting into your 50s and 60s, you're starting to settle down. You're like, okay, I want something to pay me back for all those years of stress and work and raising kids and mortgages and bosses. So what can I do? Well, we can't live off grid because I'm too old. I should have done that when I was in my 30s. No, you should have had kids like you did in your 30s. When you're in your 50s and 60s, 70s, it's you time. I just don't agree that you're just too old. I've met a lot of people in my life, obviously, just like you have. And I don't know anybody that can't do this. I really don't know anybody that can't do this. It's an excuse. If you are choosing not to live something that you really want to do, it's because you just can't adjust. You can't adjust to the idea that you might have to clean an outhouse toilet before you can use it. I look at animals. It's interesting because nowadays we're not even allowed to leave our dogs outside, or cats, or anything like that. You know, it's massively frowned upon. I look at feral cats. When it's -4 degrees out there, they're still out there. They're not dying on the streets. But when you have a cat, you're not allowed to let the cat go outside when it's -4 degrees. I looked it up. The veterinarian says they can't handle that kind of temperatures. Dogs the same way. But then I look at regular animals, wildlife animals, and they survive. So you take a wolf, a fox, something like that, and they can handle the negative temperatures. But then you bring the animal inside and you domesticate it, and then you can't let it go outside anymore because that's too dangerous for the animal. Although, in my lifetime, it was not frowned upon to have an outdoor dog. In my adult lifetime, somewhere along the lines, we have decided that Dogs just can't handle to go outside in cold weather. No, they'll die. Okay, so now it's starting to bubble over. So we'll go over and do the extraneous job of shutting it off. I'm telling you, this is more than anybody should have to deal with. We'll go over here and I'll switch it back over to the bucket. Okay, that was a lot of work. Now I got to do this. Got to take the hose out of the tank. That's a lot of work. So I think that we all should give our dreams a chance. If you're saying you can't do it, it's not because you can't do it. It's literally because you don't want to do it. Everybody should live their dreams when they grow old. But you're already shutting yourselves down when you say you can't. So if you'll click this up next box, take that video while I'm showing you how I was disconnecting those filters. So I hope I can inspire you to get young so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.